we'll just hold off just for a minute because this is, a Q&A, live Q&A. Got quite a few questions I've been asked in the last week, so I just thought I'll just answer everybody's question on a live. So we'll just give it a minute and then everybody can benefit from these questions that I've been asked, because these are questions that have been floating around in everybody's mind. So if you're brand new to Rent2Rent, you want to get started in property, you don't know what strategy you want to do, you don't know how much your budget, you don't know your area, bear with, and by the end of this video you should have a bit more clarity over your first steps into the property market. So we'll start with Jake. So first question is Rent2Rent actually legal in the UK? So yeah, it definitely is. Go on Companies House, put in the SIC code 68209. I think the last time I checked, there was 20,000 registered limited companies for property management. This is management of leased properties. That SIC code is on Companies House. We've just called it a savvy thing called Rent2Rent, but it is management of leased properties. It's absolutely legal under the right contracts. The company let management contract. It's what your hairdressers will be doing. It's what kebab shops will be doing. Post offices, you name it. They'll all be renting or leasing these properties to then run their business from. All right, whether they're in that property or not. We're doing exactly the same. We lease a property from a landlord under a business contract, and then we run that property like an Airbnb, right? Or a student accommodation. Or you're going to pass it to social housing, which are going to be turning into a children's home, for example. So, yeah, absolutely 100% legitimate business in the UK. How are we doing, guys? So I hope you're doing okay. Just wondering, how much is it to work with you? So we do have multiple investment levels. I've built them. It's taken a long time to build. So just reach out to me, bro. I'm very straight talking. I won't air it on live, but yeah, if you're looking for one-to-one support, mentorship with me and my team, I would say we are a good level in as an investment. We're not out of reach. We have from beginner levels to expert kind of advice levels. So just reach out to me and I'll just be very direct with you. How can we find property for social housing providers? How to pitch with agent and landlords? Good question. That's probably in that list. See what I mean? I need to do more of these. Can't keep up. So how can we find properties for social housing providers? So very first thing you should do is download the CQC register and then just make your way through that list. You can also use keywords on Google. So put in social housing provider, private sector social housing provider, all of these types of keywords that will just bring up a small limited social housing provider. Send them an email, then call them. And there's no magic script. I created a script 6 years ago because I was fed up of all of these tactical, trying to secretly get in with estate agents and landlords. They love direct people. I love working with direct people. I think people watch my content just because I'm very direct. Every customer wants you to be direct, so just be very direct. Hi, stumbled across your website. I'm just wondering, are you looking to actively grow your business? Would you want to work with me if I found the suitable, perfect property you're looking for? Be very direct. Make sure you're speaking to the right person. I hope that helps. Got a question from Sarah. Do you need the landlord's permission or can you just sublet? So you can't just sublet. That is illegal. It depends if you are the tenant of... This is a contracts question. So you can't just sublet. If you're renting a room from a landlord, or you're living in this property and you've signed a contract with the landlord as a tenant, you can't do that. Absolutely big, massive red cross. No. So it doesn't matter even if the landlord gives you permission, you're subletting on an AST contract. That's illegal. I've watched TikTok and I'm confused. So the only way to do this, guys, is approach the landlord, approach the estate agent, on a property that you know might work. You do deep due diligence later. You don't look for perfection on the front end. You just find someone who is willing and open to this, and then once you get a viewing, then do the deep due diligence. Then, by that point, the landlord would, with your script, hi, yeah, I'm looking at your property, it's on XYZ Street. Just wondering, would the landlord be open to a company let on this one? That's the script, right? That is the script. And then you've got the permission. Then the contracts allow permission. Cool. So another a question from Tom. Isn't rent-to-rent risky if the landlord takes the property back? They can't just take it back. They can't just, I want my property back. There's a contract. Maybe I should make a YouTube video on contracts, because the first 3 questions are kind of contract related. But if me and you were to go into contract, I've rented my property to you, you're a rent-to-renter, right? We've signed a contract, and it's a 3-year contract, and there's a break clause like every 12 months. I can only take my property back every 12 months with 2 months notice. So on the 10th month, I'd be like, hey Tom, yeah, here's my 2 months notice, I want my property back. That was agreed in the contract. But if I don't invoke it on month 10, come month 11, I can't do it, because it's gone past that 2 months notice. The next opportunity is on the 22nd month to invoke 2 months notice to get my property back on the 24th month. Does that make sense? So if there's a break clause every 12 months, that is how it's worked. I've got to give you notice on the 10th month for 2 months notice. If I miss that, my next opportunity is on the 22nd month. I hope that makes sense. Stu Dog cracking the whip on the phone today. Good man. Question from Danielle. Can you rent-to-rent without owning property? Absolutely. Yeah, so you don't need to own property. You can be an absolute beginner. You can have absolutely nothing going for you. If a landlord wants to work with you, they will. If they've done their certain checks and you pass, they will. Even if you don't pass, even if you fail referencing, even if let's say they run referencing and you fail miserably, cool. The deal stacks. They accepted your offer. You just failed the referencing miserably. And the referencing might be very relaxed. I'm running worst case scenario. Then you sell it to someone else. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm not in a position to be able to take this on then. But my friend over here, Jackie, would love to work with you and would love this property. Okay, cool. Then Jackie takes it on. You sell the deal to Jackie for £3,000. That's the industry standard deal. That stacks nicely. An average rent-to-rent deal would be £3,000 sourcing fee. All right. Robin, thank you, Kenny. If I find a registered provider and I got the requirements, which platform is better to find a property for the provider? Rightmove, OpenRent, Facebook Marketplace, Gumtree. If I found one from Rightmove, how to approach agent? Yeah, again, very direct. So if you found, let's say the provider wants, a 5-bed house, detached, has to have a downstairs toilet, right? Just as an example, you find one on Rightmove. This is how I would approach the estate agent. Hi, I just found your property. I see it's still available. Is that the case? Yeah, it's still the case. Okay, great. Can I be very direct with you? Yeah, sure. I'm working with a provider. They're actively looking for this exact type property. Would the landlord be open to working with us and rent on a long-term guaranteed rent business? That would be my spiel. All right. Very direct. Don't waste your time. Don't waste their time. Come across confident. The best thing about social housing is you got to onboard a provider first before finding a property. It's not the other way around. Once you onboard a provider, you can speak with absolute conviction on the phone because you've got a customer. You've just got to find them a property. You can be absolutely convicted on the phone call. No, speak with conviction on the phone call because you want that property for your customer. The customer said, yeah, I want a 5-bed downstairs bathroom. You find it. It's within grasp. It's not an absolute punt, So yeah, I hope that helps. Another one. Callum, is rent-to-rent the same as subletting? So kind of covered that one, but I'll just clarify it. So yes, subletting is is just a dirty word that we've associated with illegal leasing property on an AST contract. Subletting means you are leasing a leased property, right? So that's what subletting means. You are leasing a leased property. So you can do that considering you're doing it on the right contracts. You can't do that if you're on the wrong contract. So rent-to-rent is leasing to lease out. Subletting is leasing to lease out. It's how you structure it. You can't do it on an AST contract. It has to be a company-let management contract with the right permissions in there. I hope that helps. Cool, we got another one from Ryan. How much money do you realistically need to start? So I always like to say $5,000. $5,000. That helps your mindset because you've got the money to get going, right? But let me give you a story. I started with, I had £3,500 in my, I funded from my personal account to my business account to get going. I paid a mentor £3,000, or was it 3.5? I can't remember. I think it was 3,000. That left me with £500. That could have affected my mindset because I'm going into rent-to-rent with pretty much no money, right? Compliance was about £400 or £500. So, but at the time, I had a few things I could sell. I was saving as well, saving hard. I sacrificed everything. I'm like going all in on this. I'm not spending any money on anything. I'm going all in on this. And then 83 days later, I secured 3 rent-to-rent HMOs. And running it through the calculator, it was going to profit £2,400 a month. I'm telling you guys, if I said to you, here's a deal, it's going to profit £2,000 a month. I just want £5,000 as a sourcing fee. You would find a way of buying that deal from me. It was exactly the same for me. I secured 3 properties. The calculator says I'd done everything. The market research, the demand was there. I just had to find the money to take these deals on. So I found the money. So that was my story. I needed to find 11 grand to take these 3 properties on. That's the rent, the deposit, and the refurb, right? And the furnishings. I needed 11 grand. I had a truck that was worth 12 grand. I never ever wanted to sell this truck. But when you start looking at what you deem assets and liabilities, I deemed my truck as an asset, that will never go down in value. But actually an asset is something that is producing cash flow. An old Land Rover was not producing cash flow. Don't get me wrong, it had its value. It wasn't going to go down. But I needed cash flow. I wanted to escape my 9-to-5. So then you start looking at stuff like that. Every time I looked at my truck, I'm like, I could sell that and take on these 3 deals. That is going to profit me £2,400 a month. So that truck is actually costing me £2,400 a month. So once you understand that mindset, bang, I'm like, that truck is for sale yesterday. I need to sell it ASAP. So you go from, I'm never selling that truck. That is my dream vehicle. I love it. Never selling it to, oh my God, I need to sell it. So how much do you realistically need to start? Yeah, you can do it. You can do it. You just need a strong mindset if you're going in it with no money, because that could hold you back, but you can absolutely get it done. But I like to say to people, go in with $5,000, 4 or 5 grand. Then your mindset won't hold you back because you've got the money to take on your first property. I hope that makes sense. Can it be done with 2K? So it depends. If you're deal sourcing or you're looking to JV with someone, yes, you can't take on a property with 2 grand. The rent might be £1,600. For service, let's say it's a 3-bed and you're going to run it as an Airbnb. Rent is about 15, 16, 17, 1,800 pounds. You've run out of money already. So the landlord might want a deposit, even though we do negotiate hard with the deposit because we're not a tenant. Technically, it's illegal to take a deposit from a business under a deposit protection scheme. They shouldn't be doing it, but agents do. That's how we negotiate hard with getting it removed. How do you find good cleaning teams for service accommodation? Good question. They're very hard. Once you get a good cleaner, they are the heartbeat of your Airbnb business. You have to reference them so hard, but also go with your gut, right? So the best way we find of finding a cleaner is you want to find like a Janet, right? Lovely Janet who lives in the town and would happily always look after your Airbnb. So you want to be going in, let's say you found, a property in Doncaster, right? I don't know why I say Doncaster, I've just said Doncaster. You go into all of the Facebook groups, Doncaster community Facebook group. You go on the top, you put in cleaner, you look for posts. You put in Airbnb cleaner in the search bar. You look for posts. Then you see a name that is heavily recommended and you send them a message. Send them a message like, hi, I've just taken on this 3-bed property. It's going to be an Airbnb. I need it cleaned, on average 7-8 cleans a month on an ad hoc basis. Is this something you do? And then just start talking to them, get them to come round, have a look, and then just go with your gut, because you work very closely with your cleaner. They are pretty much the systemization of your Airbnb business. If you get that wrong, it can be detrimental, because let's say you got guests checking out at 10 a.m. and your next guests checking out at 10 a.m. on a Friday, your next guests for the weekend are checking in at 4 p.m. on the same day. If your cleaner's late, let's say the property is an absolute mess. If your cleaner's running late, that's pushing it up. That adds stress to your day that you don't need. Then you're at risk of getting a bad review on the guest checking in. That's how important cleaners are. If you get it wrong, you're fucked. You're fucked. Bad reviews on Airbnb affects the algorithm. You then end up on page 8 as opposed to page 1. It's vital you get that right. Hire slow, fire fast. Right? That's a saying one of my previous mentors is strong about. Hire slow, fire fast. So the moment you start to see it going wrong, bang, get rid. So keep your cleaners at arm's length as well. Keep it strictly professional, because you might end up sacking them. That's just realistic. So take your time with finding the right cleaner. Don't be in a rush. Find a cleaner ahead. So if you're targeting certain towns and cities all the time, find a cleaner ahead of you actually securing a deal. So you're not in a rush. Then you can choose wisely. Cool. Got a question from Lewis. How much profit do your students actually make per property? If you guys could see the Menti hub and the types of money my students are bringing in, you wouldn't believe me. You wouldn't believe me. So, for instance, Jack and Emily, they're on track to bring in 30k this month. Sam and Zach, no, sorry, that's Jack and Emily. Sam and Zach, they turn over big money, like 50, 60k a month. They've got 7 large, luxurious properties all across the UK. We've got Ryan. He's got 2 serviced accommodations. He hits 10k a month. Turnover. This is turnover. Right, so the profit margins are anywhere between 20 and 40%. But yeah, they make big money. We take on the right properties. We do heavy market research beforehand. Nothing is a risk. If it is a risk, then I tell my students, I'm like, you can pull the trigger on this one if you can financially afford it. I just don't like the data. It's not making me excited. But the best ones are when I'm excited. And I'm like, you sign that fucking contract before I do. So yeah, they're doing very well. Hannah, how long does it take before you make money? 3 months, 6 months? It depends. Every property is different. Depends on the size of the property. If you're taking on a 1-bed flat, it's a lot slower because the rent, the margin isn't great. And when I say margin, I mean profit margin isn't amazing. If you're taking on a 5-bed house, the profit margins are pretty good. If you're taking the larger the property, the quicker the return. The more people you can sleep, the quicker the return. I like to see my investment back in 3 months. And every single property that I've ever taken on, I've done that. The bungalow I've just taken on is being a bit slower. I think the algorithm on Airbnb is a lot harder now than it used to be. But I'm still getting booked. There's contractors in there this week. There was contractors in there last week and the week before, and over Christmas. So it's doing okay. It's just the nightly rate isn't yet what I wanted it to be. But the high season, I will absolutely kill it. The profit margin in the high season would be about 2,500 a month. So yeah, for me, I can ride waves. I can financially afford risk. And as someone new, then it's heavy market research to feel almost certain that this is going to work. There's no hope involved at all. Is it going to work? Brilliant, let's go for it. That's that. Ben, do you need good credit? So that is usually asked by someone with bad credit. So your best bet is to target landlords directly. A lot of them don't run referencing. They're a people person business. They will talk to you. They will sit down with you. Every direct to landlord deal I've had, they've never run reference on me. They've never even Company's House checked me. They've never even asked for my business name. Never asked for business bank statements. Like every landlord I've worked with directly, never ran referencing. It was just a conversation, and they're like, "Yeah, let's do it." Just probably because I speak with conviction, confidence, sold on my business model. It comes across. So if you do have bad credit, I would focus more on landlords, trying to find a deal that way, as opposed to estate agents. Because estate agents have a process they need to follow. They do go through referencing. A lot of people do pass, but if you do have bad credit, then you might just be holding yourself back with your mindset. So I would focus on landlords, okay? And then if you do fail, then sell the deal. That's what I would do. What type of properties work best? So it depends which strategy you're going for. You've got rent-to-rent HMO, service accommodation, social housing. If you're going for service accommodation, I would say 3 beds and up. If you're going for HMOs, I would go 6 beds and up. 5 beds are becoming quite hard to negotiate. I think the landlord's mortgages are squeezed. 6 beds and up just allow that extra bit more revenue coming in, which helps your profit margin. That helps the rent get negotiated down to that point. So 5 beds, HMOs are becoming harder. 6 beds, are good. 7, 8 beds. Only go for licensed HMO properties. And with social housing provider properties, any type. It depends what the provider is looking for, right? So any type. I'm going to have to shoot in a minute, guys. Didn't realise it was 1 o'clock already. How many more questions have we got? Got quite a few. Can you do Airbnb anywhere in the UK? No. Cornwall is tricky. That's very seasonal. You need to, either have an exceptional property that does very well in the summer and you can ride the waves in the low season, but I wouldn't recommend that. And just small, boring towns, if they've got nothing going for it. Everywhere else, as long as there's contractors, there's something that will attract the tourists to there, then yeah, it will work. You just have to optimize it and go for a large enough property, have parking. Not always parking, London, parking very restricted. Bristol, parking very restricted. Depends on the demand on the market. So yeah, you can do it in most places, but not everywhere. There's obviously seasonal places. All right. Do you need planning permission? So this always comes up. You seek for short business rates relief. Small business rates relief. So you have to have more than 70 nights of the year booked to then apply for small business rates relief. And your first property will be deducted 100% council tax. Okay, your second property is like a certain percentage. Your third property, I think, is 25% off of the council tax. And then your fourth is 100%. You'll be paying for council tax. What we do is we account for every single time council tax. That just helps the profit margin. Yeah, just because it's better to. But yeah, you do need planning permission. You get that through applying for small business rates relief, and then they allow the use of the property. All right. is social housing better than Airbnb? I would say every strategy is epic. It depends on what you're looking for. So I love Airbnb strategy. I just love it. I started with Rent2Rent HMO. That was great. Social housing is brilliant. It's passive income, right? It's hard to structure on the front end. All of them are. They're all completely different. It depends on your goals. If you want absolute passive income and you don't want to deal with nothing, then social housing is the route for you. If you want to kit out properties to an Airbnb spec, like I've just done a few, and the nightly rate, and you love the cash flow, then Airbnb. If you want stable income to replace your stable income, then HMO. All right, they all have their pros and cons. What contract do you use? That's a question from Pete. So, Pete, if you're watching this, it's a company-let management contract. There is a video on my YouTube that goes through everything about the contracts. So if you go to my YouTube and just put in like contract, you'll find those videos. Already running and licensed HMO will have grandfather rights, I believe. Yeah, we only want to take on a property that is HMO licensed. We don't want to take on a property and then convert it to a HMO. We don't touch that at all. Not at all. Not worth the headache. Absolute big no. If the landlord's like, yeah, you can rent my 5-bed, in turn, you can apply for the license. Nope. Don't waste your time. Absolutely not. Don't waste your time. You can say, look, if you apply for the license, let me know once it's all done, like completed, signed off, then I will rent the property from you, but we don't get involved at all. It's a big no from us. What happens if a guest damages the property? So, I take £250 damage deposit if they book through booking.com, and there's checkout instructions, and they all follow it. It's amazing. It's amazing. The checkout instructions, they leave it. So they've got to remove all items that they come with. They're not allowed to leave any rubbish inside the property. They have to put it in the bags and in the correct wheelie bins. They're not allowed to leave leftover food or drink. That's all got to be taken with them. That can't even go in the bins. Only rubbish and recycling in the bins. All towels left in the shower tray. Yeah, that's about it. So my cleaners just clean, right? They're not clearing up after them. They just clean the property, which is the right way around. So because they follow the checkout instructions, they get their £250 refundable damage deposit back. So yeah, if a guest does damage the property, they don't get that back. If they book through Airbnb, then we don't take the deposit because you've got air cover, and that's pretty exceptional. That's good. That's a good service from Airbnb. Do landlords even agree with this? Yeah, they absolutely do, because I can speak from my experience, and my students get deals. So, yeah, they do. The reason why they do is because they've been burnt by a tenant before. It's taken a very long time. Or the rent reform bill is putting them off. They don't want to be at risk. Or they're a portfolio owner and they just want peace of mind. There's many different reasons why. It's not the fact that we're just taking a house away from the market. There's reasons for the landlord liking this business model and the services it comes with. It suits their lifestyle. I'm going to have to cover this in another live, guys. I hope this has been helpful, but yeah, I need to shoot. Is it hard at the moment to run Rent2Rent HMO in Article 4 areas since it needs planning permissions? Yeah, so just to go over that one again, we only go for licensed HMO properties. So when you're searching Rightmove for Rent2Rent HMO, just make sure you're only going for student properties that have the HMO license in place, because then you're just offering guaranteed rent. We're a guaranteed rent service. We're not a HMO conversion company to then rent. It's a massive headache. Don't do it. Awesome. I hope this has been helpful. If you don't follow me on YouTube, follow me on YouTube. Me and my team, we're actively doing Rent2Rent deals. I've just taken on 2. They're live. You can literally see those properties and how they're performing. Yeah. So actively learn from someone who's doing this. But I hope this live has been useful. Send me a DM if you have a burning question, and it will be added to this list, and I'll run another live very shortly. So enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for tuning in. See you guys soon.